What's going on, everybody? Emmett Ferguson here doing a book review on the Boron Letters by Gary C. Halbert. Now, just to preface this is a very reputable, very well-known, very read book, a popular book within the business of copywriting, advertising writing, writing to sell a product, writing to mail a letter, doing outbound campaigns, direct mail letters, email copy. The lessons in this book apply. And the reason why they work is think about this. Have you ever wanted to ask somebody successful, or have you ever heard this question asked, whether you saw it in a video somewhere, or whether you went to like a motivational seminar or something? And you or somebody else wanted to know or asked the question, what would you tell your younger self? What would you tell yourself 15 years ago when you were just getting started? Or what would you tell yourself, getting older? And as valuable of a question as that is, and there's some great answers to those questions, rarely are they ever, very few people have ever really written a book about it. Although you could say, maybe some people are writing books to their younger selves, but that aside, very few people have actually, have an opportunity to really dive in depth with that question. And plus, I think it's one of those questions that gets asked so many times, it's like they got a canned response for it. But what's even more powerful than knowing what someone successful or someone experienced in their craft might write to themselves in the past? Think about this question. What would you write to your child? What would you write to help your child, your daughter, be more successful? Your daughter, your son, be more successful? Your stepson, stepdaughter, whatever that is. What would you write to them? What would you share with them? What tips would you tell them if they didn't have your guidance? Okay, so here's another preface, real quick. If you don't know this book, the Boron Letters was actually written from prison. I think the prison name was Boron or something like that. And Gary C. Halbert writes letters to his son on how to be successful, particularly in copywriting. So Gary C. Halbert actually was a copywriter, was fairly successful. He's very well known in like that copywriting industry. You'll see his name pop up in other copywriting business books, or books that teach you how to write copy. And what you'll find is that Gary C. Halbert is well recognized, well known, very well reputable. And it's one thing to ask him, like, to go to, maybe imagine yourself going to a seminar and like you go ask him, you're like, what would you tell yourself 15 years ago? What would you tell your 13-year-old self? Or what would you tell your 25-year-old self to make a lot of money or be successful or become a better copywriter? And at most, I think they might answer the question with a sentence or two. But you think about a guy speaking to his son, and the guy answering the question, yeah, sure, he's got a customer in the audience who wants to know something, but he's already answered that question a couple times. But what would a father successful at a craft of copywriting write to his son? What would Pablo Picasso write to his son about his tips for being a great artist? What would, Voltaire teach his kids? What would I think her name's Gina Carano, she's a famous UFC fighter, write to her daughter about being a female fighter, growing up in a male-dominated sport or even a business, right? So it's one thing to tell yourself something, what to be hard on yourself, or like to give like a couple minute answer, but it's another thing to write letters from prison when you got a lot of time to think, when you've got a lot of time to wonder, what's going to help the most. And there's a lot of these letters. They go from everything from like how to get your day started to that idea that's actually going to make you money, how to start, finding opportunities and practices that you can do day to day. I mean, think about, and I think his son was pretty young at the time, so his son really had very little reference as to the business of success, right? So you think about all the things that successful people do, what their habits are, what their philosophies might be, what type of action they took, and even more so, like more particular, what they were doing when they were first getting started in building their businesses and building their brands and building their careers, their crafts, and all of that. So I think Boron Letters does an amazing job of going beyond answering the question of asking someone successful what they would do if what they would tell their year self that was a kid or whatever, but literally having someone successful professionally write letters to their kid, someone that they absolutely loved, not just someone in the audience asking a repetitive question, but someone that they wanted to have succeed, from the deepest parts of their, being, what that person would tell their kid, their daughter, their son, their, whether blood or step kid or whatever, what they would say to them, what advice they would give them, what daily exercises they would have them do, what ideas they needed to impart on them to help them make money, to be successful, to get rich, or to do any of that. And this book is such a great combination of both actionable ideas, like how to get your day started, the activities that you can do and why you should do them, to the higher level, like business, like understanding what people want, why people buy, getting the ideas to sell a product, find a product to sell, and how you can leverage a skill like writing. Now, writing itself is a simple activity, but it's difficult to execute well, right? So anybody can write a letter, anybody can type up a 250-word report, but it takes skill to actually transform that into something that people are going to want to read, they're going to want to listen to, and they'll take action on. It takes skill, practice, knowledge to be able to teach someone that, and to teach them what it's going to take to become great. So the Boron Letters by Gary C. Halbert's letters to his son from prison. And, when you hear prison, people have made mistakes. People have gone to prison for a variety of reasons. So, and I have spoken with people who, instantly, as soon as they hear that, they don't want to, work with that person. But forget about the person. Think about the knowledge that can be gained from this relationship, this communication within that relationship, right? And I think, I'm pretty sure that the story goes is that Gary C. Halbert got involved with, he was writing, and don't quote me on this, but I think he was actually writing copy for a company that ended up not being they didn't have the highest levels of integrity, and he got caught up in that. He didn't do anything wild, like murdering someone or anything, or being some multi-trillion-dollar Ponzi schemer, but just he got into some trouble. But the value, I think it's an amazing thing that he was able to take that lesson, that he was able to even go into that situation and be able to come out with a story to tell his child, the person that he probably cared more about anything, more about than anything. Excuse me, the person that he would have committed to wanting to help find success. And it's one thing to be able to be there, right? To be right there with your kid, holding their hand, maybe letting them watch you work. But this is such a unique insight because he didn't have that opportunity. He didn't have that luxury to bring his kid into I don't know exactly, what the relationship was before, but to let his son experience the work that he was doing, and for him to give all that information while he was working, but for him to actually write these letters and have to have as much impact as possible in each of these letters that he sent out to his kid, and still be able to have an impact, to be able to impart wisdom, knowledge, and the skills, the practices, the exercises, the habits, the thoughts, the mindset, the behaviors that he felt helped, which I imagine, he felt helped him succeed. Therefore, he wants to apply it to tell his son. And, one thing, like, it's amazing that you get to see, that you get to get some insight. By the way, there are a lot of ideas that I was able to find in this book that are not shared in many other places and many other books about copywriting. There are very few ideas. There's at least a handful. I would say at least 5, I think, ideas that even if you've read just about every book that's out there on copywriting, and when I say that, if you've read at least 5 to 10 books on copywriting or writing or advertising or marketing, chances are this book's probably even popped up on your reading list. But with that said, you're virtually guaranteed to find at least 5 new ideas within this book. And there's a link in the description below to Amazon where you can purchase this on Kindle right now. And this book's not only going to give you the actions, activities, beliefs, and all that good stuff, that positive thinking stuff. It goes beyond positive thinking, much far beyond that. But like, it's going to get you to a point where you're going to feel confident writing. When you're going to get started in your copywriting journey, you're going to have an amazing resource. Like, these are letters. These are personal. These are like being connected to the person that's writing to you, especially if they care about you. It means something. And there's some great ideas from here. You can see, and one thing about writing is, in order to be a good writer, you got to read good writing, or you read bad writing and you find out ways to improve. But you got to read something. If you're just getting into copywriting, one of the biggest tips that people share in copywriting is to read other people's work. Look at other people's advertising. Read other people's work, emails, email campaigns, email funnels, sales pages, landing pages. Read that letter that comes in the mail and look at how it's designed. And that's a tip that a lot of these books share, and that's in common. And if you want to know how to write a great letter, something personal, something that people are going to appreciate, this is helpful. And it goes beyond just writing letters, but you got to read it. Like, there's just something about it that the personalness of it, the like that private communication of it, that makes it just that much more impactful. If this is something that you want to get into, if you want to get into advertising or marketing. If you don't, if you just want to, even if you don't want to get into advertising, marketing, writing copy, writing email campaigns, writing landing pages, even if you don't want to do that or like do search ads or anything, it would still be great to read this book, because it does have like a little like bittersweetness to it. And there's some great lessons. Great lessons for people who don't want to write, even if you want to make money, be an entrepreneur, figure out how business works, learn some great lessons. I mean, it's a pretty quick book. You think letters, people only have so much energy to write out such a long letter, and these were sent over time, so they're very quick to read. And with him considering his son, I think that he kept them brief and straight to the point, while still being able to add that caring, personal touch from a dad. I think he does a good job of doing all of that, communicating with someone who might not have the patience, even though it's his dad or whatever, and to really have the patience of reading a 5-page letter, right? I'm sure the son probably read the letters, but if they were boring and drawn out, this book probably would not be as popular as it is today in the world of advertising. So check it out, The Boron Letters by Gary C. Halbert. These are letters from a expert copywriter, father, to his son. I mean, there's very few things that could get more powerful than that in terms of what lessons are to be shared. And it's an amazing read for anybody. So with that, thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and comment, and link in the description below. Check it out on Amazon, and let me know what you think. Leave a comment, let me know, and share your feedback, and wish you the best on everything that you're doing, whether it be in advertising or anywhere else in the world. Have a wonderful day.